Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor, again, congratulations on your nomination. And I think you're aware of how broad the committee is in it, I mean, the department is in its oversight of science issues. So I wanted to, the chairman asked you a pretty broad question at the beginning, which was important to do with collaboration. It's surprising how often that doesn't happen sometimes, so it's very good to clarify. But also want to clarify this issue as it relates to science and data. Do you oppose any censorship of scientific data and information coming out of the Department of Commerce?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And will you work with us to help restore the confidence in that science and data information and investment in it for the future?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. A couple of specific issues. One that I mentioned in my opening statement, and as we're talking about seafood and the fishing economy, salmon is particularly important to the Pacific Northwest. And one of the issues regarding salmon that I think, as we talk about infrastructure investment moving forward, that is all sorts of transportation infrastructure, we're a coastal state with a lot of transportation infrastructure and moving of products, but keeping salmon habitat and restoration in a robust state is very critical to keeping salmon. So will you work with us on a more targeted, larger scale investment in stormwater restoration and in building critical habitat for everything from oyster reefs to eel and seagrass and critical habitat? I'm sure this is, again, I think there's a dozen or so members of this committee that probably have similar problems in their states, but would you work with us to increase the amount of investment and targeted return from that investment?
Yes, I would very much look forward to working with you and other members of the committee. Again, as I said, I have come to understand from my discussions with you these past couple of weeks how important the salmon stock is and the fishing industry in general is to your state, and I would absolutely look forward to working with you on that issue.
Well, I guess I would call it salmon infrastructure. And that is that as we grow transportation infrastructure, which we also desperately need in the Pacific Northwest, we grow salmon infrastructure, which is that habitat and stormwater restoration, which practically every community in my state would tell you that they need if we're going to do a better job of protecting salmon. The same kind of scientific and data information is also needed for our orca whale population and preserving them. So one of the things that they have issue with right now, which NOAA has basically said we need to do something about noise as it relates to the orca population. So I hope that you will work with us to implement something that is a process for our shipping and Coast Guard and others to work on a mitigation plan for the orca whale population.
Yes, I would be excited to do that. I will say here as governor, I have a record of investing in stormwater, investing in resiliency, investing in adaptation, and would certainly look forward to doing that with you and members of the committee.
Thank you. And then lastly, stock assessments. We believe in good fisheries management policy, and key to that is stock assessments. And so I hope you'll work with us on increasing the amount of dollars that go into the science behind stock assessments so we can make good management plans.
Yes, again, absolutely. I plan to lead with science and lead with data. I know stock assessments are vital and also very detailed, and I absolutely will look forward to working with you on that.
Thank you. And on the larger issue of science and data, as I mentioned in my opening statement, as it relates to weather, do you think the United States should be a world leader in weather and data forecasting information? I say, I'm not necessarily trying to be competitive with another nation. It's just the amount of times that we hear, our news broadcasters say, well, this is the forecast, and then this is the European forecast. And they are using supercomputing time to get more out of this. This weather data is so critical for us as it relates to, as I said, aviation, maritime, space issues, agriculture issues. So will you work with us to make sure the United States has the state-of-the-art technology when it comes to weather forecasting and weather information?
Yes, I think, and we had the opportunity to visit about this last week. I applaud your leadership on it. I think that America's National Weather Service should be the gold standard. And should I be confirmed, I will work with you to make sure that that is the case.
Thank you. My time's expired, Mr. Chairman. I would just say that I'm going to count on the governor to work with us. Her workforce strategy in real Rhode Island jobs, I think is, that particularly for underserved communities and minority business communities, something we need to look at and how we can elevate that to a national level. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.